Thank you, everybody, for joining me for another episode of the Financial Commute. I'm really excited to have Stacey McKinnon, Chief Operating Officer at Morton Wealth, join us. I've known Stacey for about 4.5 years, and I know one thing is very true. Her passion for planning comes out in just about everything that she does. So part of the goal of these podcasts is to talk about what's going on in the world, how does it affect you, and what can you do about it? And in times of uncertainty, we often, as advisors, refer to our clients, hey, let's go back and revisit your financial plan. So Stacey, share with me, where did your passion for planning come from?
Well, that's a funny question because I did start my career as a wedding planner. So maybe it was just planning was in my blood and I was always supposed to be a planner in some way, shape, or form. But when I transferred from the wedding industry to the financial industry, I thought it was just going to be data and numbers. And I quickly realized that financial planning is not just data and numbers. It's actually giving someone a roadmap to make the best possible decisions for themselves, for their families, for their loved ones, for their careers. And I find that planning can be such a fulfilling process because it provides you with clarity to some of the questions that, honestly, we have that make us feel out of control in our lives, and it gives us that control back. And so I love working with clients, and I love the moment where they just say to themselves or say to me or say to you, when clients we share together, gosh, I feel like I can actually do that thing now, that thing I always wanted to do. And that's really where my passion started.
That's awesome. I too echo the fact that we get to change people's lives and help empower them and give them confidence. In times of uncertainty or volatility, what are some of the pitfalls that you think that people make when they have that anticipation of going into doing a financial plan? What are the pitfalls that they tend to run into? And if you were to do a financial plan, how would you look at it? What would be your viewpoint? What would you do or expect going into it?
Well, sometimes I feel that people don't want to do a financial plan because it feels like it's going to hamstring them. They'll be forevermore say, hey, I have to do these things at these times, and these are the rules, and I have to follow these rules. And, I don't think any of us particularly like getting put in a box. A box is like, get me out of the box.
Right.
So when we bring up financial planning during this period of time, I think it's associated sometimes with the fear of being put into that box. So the question becomes, well, what if you weren't in that box anymore? And the idea of doing a financial plan, you stopped focusing on the work it takes to actually do the plan, but instead the outcome, the confidence that you will feel once it's done, knowing that you're going to be okay no matter what the stock market does. You talk about this all the time. Focus on what you can control, not on what you can't control. Okay. And my best advice during this period of time where maybe people do feel that uncertainty is just get that control back by dedicating yourself to this plan. I think about financial planning as a journey along a road, financial commute podcast. So we'll talk about the road. You take a journey along the road and all of a sudden you hit traffic on the freeway and you're 10 minutes late. Well, what do you do in that moment? You call someone and say, hey, I'm 10 minutes late. I'll be there later. When we do financial planning, we have to remember that you'll hit traffic on the road. There'll be an accident or something will happen that will derail your plan. You'll have to make the pivot and call someone. There's just sirens going off. The podcast will probably catch that.
The irony of it.
So you'll hit that roadblock and you'll have to pivot. You'll have to make that phone call. I'll be 10 minutes late. Or maybe something that you wanted to do now, you wait and you do it in the future. When you actually engage in financial planning, you're not making a lifelong commitment. You're just making a commitment to yourself to have more confidence in the decisions you're making.
I think that's a good point. The confidence in the decisions that we're making and that we can actually still see them through, whether it's now or later, but not getting stuck in a box. Inflation or recessions affects us all differently, but we all have different goals around money. Mm-hmm. It's been clear to me over the 13 years that I've been doing this that people tend to have an abundance lifestyle towards money or a scarcity mindset towards money. And I've noticed a big mistake that people make when they're going to do a financial plan, how they view money and how they look at their budget. Tell me a little bit about what your thoughts are on that and what people can do to actually make it more of a fulfilling thing as opposed to a daunting process.
Sure. I think the number one thing we should do is we should probably kick the word budget out of the dictionary. I feel like budgeting should just not be a used word anymore because, again, puts you in a box. It makes you feel like you're being restricted from something. It isn't an empowering word. Empowerment, one of our core values here. I think about it all the time. And when we put people on a budget, it just makes them feel like they didn't do good enough or they're not enough. Instead, what I'd love to do is replace budgeting with building a spending strategy. Because you can spend on your 401k by saving into your 401k. So what if instead of focusing on how we restrict ourselves from doing the things that we enjoy in life, we give ourselves permission to enjoy those things in life, whether that's today or in the future, and we dedicate ourselves to a spending strategy that really allows us to live our best life. And I think making that slight mindset shift or dedicating ourselves in a different way, that will be the difference between you following your plan, which isn't going to sound like very much fun when every week you look at your budget, to actually dedicating yourself to it because it's fulfilling to follow the plan because you're living out that spending strategy that you desire.
Spending strategy, it sort of hits home with me. I see it oftentimes, even myself. There's the world that we live in. You can always have more. You never have enough. And so we tend to restrict ourselves and maybe not allow us to get the enjoyment of some of the things that we might want to do because we're scared about the impact that it has. So it sounds like to me, if you go into it with a spending plan of saying, this is the life that I want to live, this is how I'm going to get the most enjoyment, can I do that?
Yep.
That will help people have more confidence that they're on the right track, as opposed to, being a more scarcity mindset and staying away from doing some things, or looking at it just to say, hey, am I going to be okay? So
exactly. Yeah. And you know what? And you would probably agree with this. It's why I find this role, this career we've chosen to be so fulfilling, because it's very difficult for any one individual to say to themselves, am I making the right decisions? Yeah. Am I able to spend on this thing? Or do I have to delay it for a period of time before I can enjoy that? What we get to do for our clients is so special in that way. We're like the GPS. So if there's like an accident on the freeway, people are like, what do I do? How do I pivot? What have you learned along the way? I think about estate planning as an example. All of the different clients we meet with, we learn all of these different aspects of estate planning. And one of the most common things that I think gets misunderstood in estate planning is people always put their kids as co-trustees. This is a very common practice where you don't want your son or daughter to feel left out, so you make them co-trustees. Well, when you make someone co-trustee of a trust, it means they have to sign everything together. It means they have to both be at every meeting together. It's an administrative nightmare. And so we, as a GPS, are able to say to our clients in this simple example, hey, might not want to do that. It's going to be an administrative nightmare for your kids, or maybe it's the right decision for you. But we get to have that influence and impact in our clients' lives. And I love it that we get to be that GPS for them.
Yeah. I love all the taglines for Financial Commute being the ways of the GPS. I get a lot of fulfillment about helping people have more confidence in their money and be able to do the decisions that they have. But when we think about retirement planning, budgeting, estate stuff, there tends to be even that just little bit amount of fear or anticipation for it. So what advice would you give to a client to end this episode with of, here's how you should be looking at it and going into it with that open mind perspective, as opposed to, limiting their ability to accomplish something?
Well, I find that whenever we have something we want to do or a goal we want to accomplish, oftentimes we get distracted by the activity. Financial planning can be burdensome sometimes because you have to collect your tax return and you have to know where your insurance policies are, and you have to put together a scope of what you want to spend in life. And so there's these tasks that you have to check off. And if we just focus on the task, I think we'll quickly back out of it or delay it or not do it. But if instead of focusing on the task, we focus on the outcome, what will we know once this is done? What type of confidence will this bring us in the decisions that we're making? Will I positively impact my family by knowing more and having a clearer picture of where I want to go? And if you're roadblocked into doing the financial plan, I encourage you to actually focus on the outcome of the plan, not just the tasks that are in front of you, because it will truly give you the confidence you need to make better decisions.
I'm so glad that you said that. I would love it if people came to me saying, here's the goals, here's the things that I want to happen, and here's the life that I want to live, and here's what it costs, and like, let's get together and collaborate. So starting with goals and then looking at it as a spending plan versus a budget, that sometimes it's not fun to see where you're spending money, but if you're spending it on the things that you get the most enjoyment, you'll be really fulfilled.
100%.
Yeah. Thanks so much, Stacey.
This was great.
Yeah.